Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why the people who claim to be good often seem to cause the most harm? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of history's most provocative philosophers, warned us about this paradox. He argued that the so-called good aren't always what they appear to be. They're often enforcers of conformity, suppressors of individuality, and architects of societal control. In this video, we'll dive into Nietzsche's critique of herd morality and explore how it shapes our world today. We'll uncover the hidden dangers of letting good people dictate your life, whether it's through performative kindness, moral superiority, or systemic manipulation. By the end, you'll understand why embracing your own evil might actually be the key to reclaiming your freedom. So buckle up, we're about to challenge everything you thought you knew about goodness. Nietzsche didn't mince words when he called out the myth of moral superiority. To him, the concept of goodness wasn't some noble ideal. It was a tool used by the masses to maintain power over individuals. Think about it. When someone tells you to be good, what are they really saying? Often, it's code for obey. It's a way to enforce rules, suppress dissent, and keep everyone marching in line. This is what Nietzsche referred to as herd morality, a collective mindset where people prioritize safety, obedience, and sameness over creativity, rebellion, and authenticity. The good person then isn't necessarily virtuous, they're just compliant. They follow the rules because it's easier than standing out. And here's the kicker, they'll try to drag you down with them. But why does this matter? Because in modern society, herd morality has evolved into something far more insidious. Social media algorithms, corporate propaganda, and even well-meaning friends all push us toward conformity under the guise of being good. Whether it's buying fair trade coffee to signal virtue or posting performative activism online, these actions rarely lead to real change. They just reinforce the status quo. And if you dare to step outside the lines, you risk being labelled bad, selfish, or worse. Now, let's talk about altruism, the supposed pinnacle of human virtue. On the surface, it seems noble, helping others, sacrificing for the greater good, putting community before self. But Nietzsche saw right through it. He believed that much of what passes for altruism is actually rooted in resentment, a term he called ressentiment. Here's how it works. Imagine someone who feels powerless, overlooked, or oppressed. Instead of confronting their pain directly, they channel it into creating rigid moral codes. These codes then become weapons to shame and control those who don't fit their narrow definition of good. Sound familiar? This dynamic plays out everywhere, from cancel culture to workplace politics to family dynamics. Take cancel culture, for example. At its core, it's not about accountability, it's about punishment. It's about making an example of someone to prove your own moral superiority. Or consider toxic workplaces, where managers preach teamwork and loyalty while exploiting employees behind closed doors. Even in personal relationships, people weaponize kindness to manipulate others into compliance. The problem isn't altruism itself, it's the hypocrisy behind it. True generosity comes from a place of abundance, not scarcity. When someone gives out of genuine care, there's no need for recognition or reward. But when altruism becomes performative, it turns into a transaction, one that demands obedience in exchange for approval. And once you fall into that trap, you lose sight of who you truly are. So how do you break free from this cycle of control? Nietzsche offers a radical solution. Embrace your inner rebel. He calls this figure the Übermensch, or overhuman, someone who transcends societal norms and creates their own values. Now, I'm not suggesting you go full anarchist and start breaking laws. What I am saying is that you have the power to define your own version of good instead of accepting the one handed to you. Start by questioning authority, not just external authorities like governments or corporations, but internal ones too. Who taught you what it means to be good? Was it your parents, your teachers, your religion? Chances were their intentions were good, but their definitions may no longer serve you. Ask yourself, does this belief align with my truth, or am I holding on to it because it's comfortable? Next, resist the pull of validation. In a world obsessed with likes, shares, and followers, it's easy to confuse external approval with self-worth. But true freedom comes from within. Practice setting boundaries, whether it's muting toxic voices on social media or saying no to obligations that drain your energy. Remember, every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values, you're saying no to yourself. Finally, celebrate your uniqueness. Society loves to label anything different as weird or dangerous, but difference is where innovation happens. Whether it's pursuing a passion project, expressing your authentic self, or simply refusing to play by the rules, lean into what makes you stand out. As Nietzsche famously said, he who has a why can bear almost any how. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Embracing your evil side sounds scary, right? But hear me out. When I say evil, I don't mean harming others or acting immorally. I mean rejecting the artificial constraints placed on you by society. Sometimes doing what's best for you might look selfish to others, but that doesn't make it wrong. Think about it. Every great innovator, artist, and leader throughout history was considered evil at some point. Galileo was called heretical for challenging the church. Rosa Parks was labelled rebellious for refusing to give up her seat. Steve Jobs was criticised for prioritising his vision over consensus. Yet, without their willingness to defy convention, we wouldn't have the advancements we take for granted today. The same principle applies to your life. Maybe it's leaving a toxic job, ending a draining relationship, or pursuing a dream that everyone else thinks is impractical. Whatever it is, know this. Growth requires discomfort. Staying good keeps you safe, but stepping into your evil allows you to thrive. Of course, this path isn't easy. There will be resistance from others and maybe even from yourself. But remember, the goal isn't perfection. It's authenticity. Every step you take toward reclaiming your power brings you closer to living a life that's truly yours. To wrap things up, Nietzsche's message is clear. Don't let the good people control you. Their definitions of morality are often designed to keep you small, obedient, and predictable. Instead, embrace your complexity, challenge the status quo, and create your own path. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. You don't owe anyone your compliance. Not your boss, not your peers, not even your loved ones. Your only obligation is to live authentically, to honour the unique spark inside you that refuses to be tamed. So, next time someone tries to guilt you into being good, ask yourself, is this really about helping others, or is it about controlling me? Trust your instincts, trust your journey, and above all, trust yourself. Because in the end, the most dangerous thing you can do is stay silent while the world tells you who to be.